This podcast is sponsored by Oddities Coffee Shop and Gift Store, located at 4182 Cordata Parkway in Bellingham, Washington. We serve up freshly ground organic espresso drinks, Italian sodas, blended drinks, and other caffeinated beverages to keep you happy and full of energy. You can grab yourself a bagel, donut, or fresh pastry to enjoy as you fuel up on some of the best coffee in Bellingham. If you're looking to shop or you're on the hunt for a unique gift, we have a great selection of toys, gifts, steampunk, anime, health and beauty products, and more. Next time you need coffee or you're in the mood to shop, stop by Oddities and we'll take good care of you.
You're listening to the Oddities
we've already kind of
podcast.
started, but
Let's do it again.
Yes.
Cheers.
cheers.
Yay. Thanks for having me.
Yes, well, this is Miranda from Bright and Sunny. So, Bright and Sunny, how'd you come up with that name?
Well, we were searching around for a name,
Uh-huh.
and one of my favorite cocktails is a dark and stormy.
Okay, I don't know that one. What's that?
It's really good. It's ginger beer with rum.
Oh, I love rum. That's
and
my
lime
favorite.
juice. Yeah, it's really good.
I'll have
And
to try that.
so, yeah, we were making these cocktails, and my ginger beer is perfect for it. And we were thinking, like, oh, that's, I was just thinking bright and sunny because we have enough dark and stormy around Bellingham. And it also kind of described the feeling that I get when I drink our ginger beer, you
Yeah.
know, and the uplifting and
Yeah, it is really refreshing.
Yeah.
And it's really nice. It's mild, too, which
thank
I like.
you. Yeah, not too sweet.
And how did you get started? Like, what was the thing that got you started making it and bottling it? And
Yeah.
deciding to sell it?
It was a long process.
Uh-huh.
I started, I quit my job in Seattle when we moved up here,
And what were you doing in Seattle?
a nonprofit event management.
Okay.
Super burned out. And Jay and I moved up here, and I was fortunate in that I didn't have to get a job right away, so I was just kind of knocking around trying to figure out what to do. And one of my hobbies is fermentation. I just kind of ferment all kinds of things like
Uh-huh.
sauerkraut and sourdough, and
Oh, wow.
I figured out you could make your own ginger beer. And at the time, we were buying a lot of ginger beer because I really like it. And yeah, you can make it yourself, and that blew my mind. And especially that you could get the bubbles without adding any CO2.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Just from the natural fermentation?
That's why we call it wild,
Oh,
because it's
interesting.
natural fermentation.
Uh-huh.
No starter, no CO2, no yeast. And so yeah, I started making it in bottles, just like small flip top bottles. And some of my friends were like, "This is so good. Can you make us some?" And then I started brewing into growlers and having it on the side of my house in a little cooler, little
Oh,
money
really?
envelope. People
That
would
is
stop
cool.
by.
That is
Yeah,
cool.
$5 for a growler. That was a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, and then I just started, I had this epiphany, like, what if I could be the ginger beer lady in Bellingham? And it just seemed so dreamy, and just slowly started figuring out all the health department permits and the business licenses and to get into the farmer's market. That was my first thing. We started in September 2018 at the farmer's market.
Okay. And how long was once you came to the decision that, I'm going to start, like, how long was it before you were actually at the farmer's market? I know you started September
see.
2018, but what was
I guess that would be, we moved here in November 2016.
Okay.
So yeah, about a year and a half.
And what was the process to get to that point? Was it stressful, hard?
Gosh, yeah, it's so hard trying to figure out how to scale it.
Uh-huh.
How to,
Yes, that's
go
hard.
from making 3, 20-ounce bottles into making a full 5-gallon keg, and like, what keg do I even use?
Mhm.
You have to be real careful, like, how to keep things clean. How does that work? How do you wash a keg? Like, the only kegs I knew about were the Sankey kegs that you see beer in.
Yeah.
We brew into Cornelius kegs where you can pull the whole top off
Mhm.
and clean it out, which is really important because I want to have a,
And did you
good
find
environment for the ferment.
the recipe making big batches, you had to adjust it? Because typically, so I was a baker for like 2.5 years, and one thing I found
lot of
out
work.
is, yeah, and
Hard work.
it is hard work. It was at night too.
Yeah,
it
it's
was
always
hard.
at night.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
in a French bakery for 2.5 years, and I was going to school full time during the day.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was brutal. I didn't sleep. I was very I was very worn out
Yeah.
after 2.5 years. But a lot of times when you try to double up or triple up recipes,
Yeah.
if you go 1-to-1,
It's
and
not
it
linear.
doesn't come out.
Especially with
There's
the
something-
ferment, yeah, it doesn't translate. So I had to kind of figure out all kinds of, it definitely wasn't a linear equation.
Yeah.
Took a lot of trial and error. And to get the ginger just right, where it's strong, but it's not like, an overwhelming amount of ginger, which it kind of is already right now.
Yeah, yeah.
How much ginger goes into
I
this
like
stuff.
it. It's good.
Good. I'm glad
Uh-huh.
you like it.
And so once you guys started bottling it up, then you started off at the farmer's market?
Yep.
Yeah. And what was that experience like? That must have been really fun, huh?
It was intense. It was
Yeah.
hard to figure out everything. I remember at the time someone told us we had to be there to start setting up, I think at 7 a.m. So we get to the parking lot and no one's around. It's just us.
Uh-huh.
And we're totally set up by 8. The thing, I mean, it starts at 10.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. And then figuring out, how to price everything
Hmm.
and all the different licenses, I have to comply with, to keep my beer under 1% alcohol. That's a real
Yeah.
challenge.
You have to test the alcohol level?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
You use a hydrometer and you
Uh-huh.
test the gravity, the specific gravity they call it. And basically, you're testing um, the liquid when you start, how much sugar is in there. And then you test it again when you're done with it. And then the equation basically tells you how much of that sugar has converted into alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
because that sugar then it has a different weight
Mm-hmm.
in the mixture than
Okay.
when you started. And so it's just a pretty
Mm-hmm.
basic. I actually got a lot of help from um, the Washington State University Extension that's out in Skagit. They have a really good cider and beer program,
Mm-hmm.
and I was having a hard time figuring out that equation. I was using the one for cider, and it was giving me a negative number, and I'm like, I know that my beer isn't negative alcohol. That doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. So yeah, they really helped me out.
Well, that's cool. Now, would you have you always been an entrepreneurial type of person, or is this something
Yeah,
totally new for you? Yeah.
sorta. I have a MBA
Uh-huh.
in sustainable management, which I originally got because I was working a lot in nonprofit organizations and just seeing all the mismanagement
Yeah.
there. And I was thinking, well, if nonprofits can run more like a business, maybe we could be more successful.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my catalyst to do that. But yeah, I never, I always wanted to do something on my own because I'm a real creative person and
Yeah.
also pretty headstrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been nice to be my own boss.
I think you have to be headstrong to be your own
Yeah.
boss because
Yeah.
it's a totally it's how do I put it? It's a totally different set of skills you have to have. Like you have to have motivation, but you also have to be consistent in your work
Mhm.
ethic. Like I've known
Right.
people over the years that would work
Very
really hard
disciplined.
for 3 weeks, but then like be really
Yeah.
lazy and take 2 or 3 weeks off. And it's just like consistent
Yep.
hard work and having to do the things.
Systematic.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
then overcoming, for me personally, I feel like being a business owner is nonstop problem solving and nonstop stress.
Very much so.
And unless you can cope with it,
Yeah.
it's just going to break you because early on when I started my own business, like it's been about 8.5 years now, things would happen that would stress me out so much it would just
Mhm.
haunt me for like weeks. I'd
Right.
just be upset for weeks, and
Right.
I realized at that point, I'm like, all right, listen, like you're gonna have to find a better way to deal with this. Otherwise you're gonna be just this angry person
Yeah.
around your employees or like in your relationships, and you're always gonna be
Yeah.
stressed out and miserable and probably gonna die of a heart attack. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, so very early on I was like, all right, let's get it under control. And just I just came to the conclusion that like this is what it's like to be a business owner. This is what you signed up for, and no one forced you to do it, and you chose to do it. So
Right.
stop getting upset or angry about it. Every business is going to lose money from time to time. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter what your business is, and it's if you own a restaurant, plates will get dropped. Customers will be unhappy with the food.
The
You have to
food business is
yeah.
especially hard.
It's
The
like,
margins are so tight.
oh, food is like one of the worst
Yeah.
ones. I've worked in restaurants. I've known restaurant owners, and
Yeah.
they tell me how little they make.
Right.
It's like not the servers make more money
Yeah.
than a lot of restaurant owners.
I
People don't
know.
know that,
Yeah.
but I've had multiple restaurant owners tell me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is crazy. So, what's been the hardest part for you, or the most challenging, as a business owner? And
As a business owner, the
uh
most challenging aspect. That's a great question. Um, I would say probably just trying to figure out how to like the actual physicality of making the ginger beer itself is very arduous.
mm-hmm,
It takes about 2 pounds of fresh ginger per 5 gallon batch, and I'm so fastidious about the ginger. I think that's one of the main reasons why the ginger beer is like so clear, and bright and sparkling is that I spend all this time taking all the rotten bits off of the
mm-hmm,
ginger. You buy ginger and it's got some, I mean, it mostly comes from Peru, the ginger that we get around here, the organic ginger that is. And so I spend all this time chopping off the dead bits and then looking it over and scrubbing all the like loose skin, anything that looks, unsavory.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually takes me about 5 or 6 hours.
Wow, for 2 pounds.
No, that's usually right now I'm batching about 15 gallons a week, so it's like 6 pounds at a time. And I've gotten better. It has taken me that much before, but I've figured out some efficiencies
Mm-hmm.
to make it a little bit more manageable. And then also just figuring out like how to get it out of a keg without using, we have to use some CO2 to push the liquid out of the keg, but like how to do that, how to, what do I put it in? Like, for example, a couple months ago, they quit making the bottles that I use in North America.
Mm-hmm.
And to figure out how to do that, how to test the alcohol. I was stumped on that for months.
Yeah.
All kinds of things,
Mm-hmm.
just like the actual physics. And then even, I'm really lucky because I'm at a commercial kitchen, Avellino gluten-free bakery.
Mm-hmm.
And they're super supportive of me. But like trying to figure out where I could make it. You have to have a commercial kitchen to make a beverage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
all those things. The
And
actual just getting to this point of having this bottle is the hardest
that's a
part.
lot of work.
Yeah.
And I know you have your ginger beer in a lot of places, including
Getting
the coffee
there,
shop,
yes,
Oddities. Come check it out.
It's in the fridge case.
I know. Are you always thinking about how to grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger, or is it like what's that process been
Yeah,
like?
I had to change my perspective on that recently because I was trying to figure out, as a like entrepreneurial minded person, how I can make a profit off of this. Because right now it's kind of just paying for itself and paying for my partner and I to eat takeout when we're super busy bottling or batching, what have you.
Yeah.
And it was really like I had set a goal for myself to make a certain amount of profit by the end of year 5, which I'm coming up on pretty soon. And it's pretty clear that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to give up the business because I love doing this. It's super rewarding being part of the community, being able to offer this to our community here in Bellingham, being like involved in all these different cool things like our local food scene, and
Yeah.
meeting people like you and being at the farmers market. And so I kind of had to change my perspective on growing big and getting profitable into, well, maybe for right now, this is a hobby business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really fortunate in that my partner's work pays our bills, and so anything I do is kind of gravy.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that way, and it was kind of like what you said, getting so stressed out where it takes like you're not enjoying your life. I really want to enjoy being able to do this. I like being able to, I think it's like a happy product, and I like being goofy, with like the way I present it and
By
being
the way,
creative.
if I can just interject there real quick, your pictures on Instagram are so good.
Oh, thanks.
Who takes those?
It's either me or Jay mostly.
Like the lighting is always so good.
Thank you.
And you always do like a cute thing.
Yeah.
Like you had one just recently where all the bottles were popping out. What was it, like a bag or a chest or something?
Oh yeah, I did that one.
How'd you do that? You just take like pictures of.
There's an app called I think it's called Life Lapse.
Okay.
And it lets you do those time lapse. It basically walks you through how to do a time lapse, and then it saves all your photos for you and then just produces them.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it usually has a watermark, but because Instagram in that particular one, I put it in landscape mode, you couldn't see it.
You always look so happy in your posts.
Thank you. I try to do that too.
They're so they are creative,
Yeah.
but the lighting's always great. I'm always like, God, this lighting is so good. Like,
thank you. Yeah, I like just being able to have some levity with it, and so by changing my perspective on how I was thinking about the business has really helped me feel a lot happier and more relaxed.
It's tough. I recently, I didn't know the statistic till I read this book, but I read this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty popular book, but in the book he said that in the first 5 years, 9 out of 10 businesses go out of business.
Right.
And then in the next 5 years
so
after
depressing.
that, 9 out of 10 of those businesses go out.
It's horrible.
And it's, I mean,
especially when you put so much of yourself into it.
I've gone through my struggles too. I mean,
sweat.
it's really hard to make a business profitable. It's very, very hard. People don't realize like there's so much.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you have employees. I mean, if minimum wage keeps going up, so you have to constantly raise your prices on everything.
That is a puzzle. How to make that work.
Supply issues.
And then all the paperwork. I mean, obviously you have to take care of people, and there's a whole bureaucracy on that. But then even just like getting people health care, like it's overwhelming.
It's really a lot. Like, it's not just the minimum wage, but then, you You have a payroll company you have to pay, and then
Yeah.
you have to pay employer taxes on top of their wages.
Right.
And then, they instituted, I think it was last year, maybe it was the year before, every 40 hours that a person works, they accumulate 1 hour of sick pay, which you as the employer have to automatically pay to them
Right.
if they're sick and they don't show up for work.
Right.
And so there's all these expenses on a business owner that make it really, really hard. Taxes make it really, really hard because not only like as soon as you open a place,
Yeah.
so I have this place here, and then I have a coffee shop, and then I have my house.
Yeah.
I got to pay rent on 3 buildings, utilities
And
on 3
insurance.
buildings. Yeah,
Yeah.
and insurance and utilities and internet and everything. So it's like whatever business I have has to make enough money to pay all that business's bills and all my personal
Yeah,
bills.
yeah.
So it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to manage, and you have to
Not to mention unforeseen things like COVID coming up that just throw everything out of whack.
yeah, all my suppliers that I order from, a lot of them have increased prices.
Yeah.
Because of supply chain issues,
Right. Shipping.
and so yeah, being a business owner, it's really hard. It's really tough.
hard. It's probably the most challenging, but also the most rewarding thing I've done.
Yeah, it is. It's great, and it's
Yeah.
hard to imagine ever going back to working a job
Yeah,
when
and
you've been
having
your
a
own
boss. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing compares to it. There are a lot of great benefits, tax wise, if you incorporate like as a corporation. I know as a sole proprietorship, Trump signed into law a lot of benefits that you can get as a sole proprietor that used to only be available for corporations.
Oh, interesting.
So we'll see if Biden renews that or not. But there are a lot of good benefits you can get from being a business owner as well. But yeah, you definitely, I think you have to work a lot.
Yeah.
And
It
yeah.
never ends.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yep.
So are you 7 days a week? You
Oh,
work
yeah.
every day?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think in the future, do you have anyone that works for you, or is it just you and Jay?
Right now I have a couple of folks who are working with me as contract employees, and that's been really helpful just as I try to get things started.
Yeah.
And I try to keep them at a pretty high rate so that
Mhm.
they can pay their taxes and, keep it fun.
Yeah.
It's something that, not to say that like scrubbing ginger is super fun, but I try to keep the environment really light-hearted
Yeah.
and make it rewarding for them. So hopefully they enjoy it, and they tell me they do. So I hope they stick around because I really love their help, and it's made things so much more manageable.
Yeah. Do you find having employees and having to like, I guess, be in like that manager leadership role? Have you been in a role like that before where you had to
Yeah.
oversee and manage people?
Yeah.
And what's that been like? Has it been because a lot of the skills, it's like there is a certain skill set to communicating and to having the
Definitely.
people who work for you share the vision that you have. But then one of the hardest things I think a lot of people have is a hard time with confrontation. If
Mhm.
someone's not doing the job well enough, or they're making mistakes, or they're doing something, you as the owner or the manager have to
Yeah.
approach them and speak to them in a diplomatic way that doesn't attack them, so they can
Right.
understand, and you have to do the hiring and the firing. What's that process been like for you? Was that ever challenging, or?
It is challenging, especially since I'm a perfectionist. It's really hard to kind of let things go. Like, for example, the way that I do the ginger is impossible, I think, for most people to achieve. And so I just kind of have to relax those standards and think, it's okay, as long as it's good enough, like it's high quality,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm doing. This meets that standard. That's okay. Like, I've had to just kind of relax my attitude,
Yeah.
especially when I'm relying on contract workers or my unpaid intern, who is my husband, to do the work. You just kind of have to relax things a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do find that it's really important to make your expectations really clear, and then
Yeah.
also provide positive feedback and then constructive criticism, and really give people room to do things their own way, as
Mhm.
long as you get to the end result is what
Yeah.
you want,
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime I've thought about this a lot, if you've had a certain amount of success in whatever business you're in, and you decide, all right, I'm growing, I need help. As soon as you hire someone and you outsource part of the business to
Yeah.
them, you're going to notice a little bit of decline in the quality, which, it frees you up with more time to go pursue other aspects of the business and help it grow.
Right.
But that is a thing, because I often think if you've had success up to this point, that's because you have the skill and the talent to succeed in your field or in your industry. And a person working for you probably doesn't have that skill or talent. Otherwise, they'd be doing it themselves.
Right.
So you're basically
Or the
trying
background.
yeah,
They don't have all the information.
yeah.
Like
So
when they're
you're,
talking to a customer, they don't
yeah,
present it the same way you would.
yeah, and just they don't have ownership in the
Right.
company. It's not their baby,
They don't
and
have the motivation.
they're not riding or dying on the success of the company. They're
Yeah.
just there for their paycheck.
Right.
So it's, I've had employees
understandable.
over the years, and it's, you have the decline in the quality of work, and it's hard to let go of that. And
It's really hard.
some of the jobs I took back myself,
Yeah.
and but about business, it's one of those things which I've learned over time is that it's an ever evolving thing. Okay, so I'm in the business of retail because I sell online and in my store, and keeping up with the market and the trend and what's happening, you always have to innovate and create and stay one step ahead. Because if you look at companies like Blockbuster, Toys R Us, these multi-billion-dollar corporations that don't exist anymore, Nokia phones back in the day, Kmart, like it's not enough just to build up a huge business that's massive. You have to constantly be innovating and taking advantage of the new,
Right.
whatever's new in the world. So in terms of like just promoting your business, being on Instagram, being on podcasts, being where the
Absolutely.
consumer attention is,
Right.
you have to be aware of that.
Figuring out how to be relevant.
Yeah, and stay relevant. And it's hard.
It's very
It's
hard.
very hard.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of chasing your tail.
Yeah. So where do you see, like, do you think about the future and like 1 to 3 years down the line? Like, what would you like to have happen, and where would you like to be?
I had this dream of creating a kind of incubation fermentation station in Bellingham where, because we have such a hard time with commercial kitchen spaces in Bellingham, and I think that would be really fun just to have other entrepreneurs who want to do fermentation have a place to rent out or have people who are more established. Like my buddy Braden at Pangea Ferments, having a place where Bellingham can go to get fermented products. I don't think my ginger beer could carry on its own, but I'd really love to have like a dedicated, like my own space to do my thing and sell my product. But that's a hard sell right now. I mean, I really feel for all the restaurants that are having to figure out what to do with the vaccine, status situation, all that crazy stuff. Like thinking about having a brick and mortar is also very daunting. So that's a dream. I don't know if it'll ever happen. I've also just been trying to, because I get really overwhelmed right now with the news.
Yeah,
I have a lot of
heavy.
anxiety. Just trying to stay in the present and focus on like what's happening right now and what I'm going to do next month, and not worry too much about where it's all going.
Yeah, the news. I've been big in the news lately, reading it, watching it, and I've taken breaks before in the past and felt so much better. But I always come back to it, and everything going on right now with like climate change and the fires and Afghanistan and COVID and
Haiti.
In Haiti, the earthquake that just happened. It's it's a lot. It's I've talked about it on the podcast too before, and it's I think like unless you're gonna actually go do something about it, there's almost no reason for you to be like consuming it, because as soon as you consume it, you're gonna feel depressed or stressed or anxious or whatever emotion, and there's no, for you personally, there's no resolving those emotions, because like in real life, if a friend of yours is sick or going through a hard time, you're going to feel bad for them, and you're going to go and comfort them, and you're going to see them feel better and get better, and by helping them you're going to feel better. But when you read the news, you don't get that closure at the end. You just get that upset feeling when you hear about something, and it's hard to like have a good healthy resolution because you feel like you have no control in a way.
Yeah, I think that's true, but you also have to be careful about not living in a bubble. And I think that it's important to stay abreast of like, even though I'm not personally affected by a lot of the horrible things that are going down right now, I at least try to be aware of it so that I know like, okay, now's my time of the month where I'm going to donate, money. What's the most pressing issue that I know about?
Yeah.
Or even just having conversations, checking something out and then having conversation like, oh, I know that you're from this country. How is this affecting you? Sort of having an awareness about what's going on, because I feel like even though maybe it doesn't do me any good to know about that stuff, we're all interconnected. And so having a consciousness about that, I think right now, even if it's overwhelming, is I try to just sort of at least keep abreast of
Mm-hmm.
the basics about what's happening.
What are some of like your biggest worries with what?
Definitely what's happening with our, I mean, there's so many things that are related to the health of the planet, but especially just wildfires, air
Mm-hmm.
quality, um, you know, the acidification of our and warming of our oceans.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just so many people living at basic line of poverty, one paycheck away from crisis.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's so many people in our country living that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's I think about it too a lot, you know. I have a 21-year or almost 21 in about a week here daughter,
Wow, yeah,
and
it's exciting.
it is exciting, yeah.
Where does the time go, huh?
It goes fast
Yeah,
because it's like yeah, it's like wow, like because I've aged that much too.
right? Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and she was born when I was really young, which is
yeah,
nice because I'm like 20 years older than her.
yeah.
So it's cool because like when I'm 80, she'll be 60. So I will have seen her whole entire life from like birth to
Mm-hmm.
being an old person.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's true.
so it's really exciting. But yeah, no, I have the same worries with like everything, like drought, fire, climate change,
Yeah.
what's going on in the rest of the world, COVID,
All the
money.
racial injustice,
The what?
racial injustice in our country, and systemic racism.
Yeah, there's so many issues, and
So many. Our country is really
it's a lot, you know, and it's
back asswards.
yeah, and you know the wealth gap between the rich and the poor is going to continue to get wider and wider. And if you look through history, that's usually what causes the downfall of most societies in the
Mm-hmm.
past. And because you get more social unrest and you get more
Mm-hmm.
issues, and it's yeah, there's just a lot of issues, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
an interesting time to be alive and go through because you know I'm 41, so I don't remember a time ever in my life where there were so many big things
Yeah.
all at once.
Right.
I can't recall like really, and
Yeah. I remember looking around. I think it was like April of last, because I'm sort of a bit of a emergency prepper
okay,
kind of thing, and that's one of my hobbies because I have so much anxiety around it. And looking around and being like, oh, this is it. Like, this is what I've been preparing for.
mm, yeah,
We have arrived
yeah. And I
at
think it's
that
smart.
time. It's
It's smart
crazy.
to yeah. I got some food and water stored
Yeah.
up. I think it's smart. I think you should, but yeah, and it's like you know it's affecting the whole planet, and you know I feel fortunate that we are at least in the U.S. because I have workers overseas in the Philippines,
Oh, yeah.
and so I hear what it's like over there. I have contacts in China. I talk to because do have stuff manufactured in China, and I work with a company over there, and I have for years, and so they tell me what it's like over there, and I have this charity that I donate to in South Africa, and when I'm friends with the girl who founded it and runs it down there, and she tells me what it's like in South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and so I hear different you know things going on in parts of the world, and we're very fortunate that we have a country that gives us a paycheck and a stimulus check and
Mm-hmm.
is trying to help out because in other countries there's zero, you get
No
nothing, and you're
safety
locked
net.
down
Yeah.
and you can't leave your house,
Right.
and it's just figured out,
Wow.
and starving and you know up you know
Right.
significantly, people have no food.
Seeing their kids have to go through something like that, I can't
Yeah,
imagine.
and it's like we're very very fortunate, and you know a lot of people wouldn't have that perspective unless you're ever exposed to it. You know,
Right.
the first time I ever traveled was to Thailand, and I saw poverty there that
Yeah.
rivals like what you know poverty here, and
Yeah.
you know, and I've been to Hong Kong and I've been to other countries, and you see it, and it's like
Yeah.
it's bad, you know. So
It's heartbreaking.
you know, we're very fortunate to be where we're at, but yeah,
Yeah.
you just have to try to keep a positive
Yeah. Try to
outlook
make the
and
most of what we're given.
uh-huh.
Do do the most good with what you have.
Yeah. So where are you from originally?
Originally from the Black Hills of South Dakota.
Okay. Are
Mm-hmm.
you do you have a big family? You only child? Your brothers and sisters, or?
We're real split up. My parents split up when I was very young, and my brother and I split our time between South Dakota and Los Angeles, where our
Oh
mom
wow.
lives. Yeah,
What was that like?
That was
That's quite a contrast, huh?
that was really hard on the brain and the heart, just because we were moving. We had this really weird joint custody situation where we were 2 years with one, 2 years with the other.
2 years at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Christmas and summer with the other one, and then we'd have to switch schools every two
Oh
years. All your
my.
friends, plus the education system, both places totally different. So we never got held back a grade, but it was really challenging. And I quit doing that when I think I was 8 or so. My brother continued, but then I still had to do Christmas and summer in South Dakota. So when my friends were off school, I was gone, and that was really hard. Yeah. But South Dakota, Black Hills, I mean, I'm really, right now, I'm not so proud to be from there, but it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It's a very harsh environment.
Do you consider yourself a city person, small town person, medium town person?
I like
what's your
Bellingham
vibe?
size. I like living by the water. I like being in a college town.
Yeah.
I like being in a place that's like, about, what are we, like 80K or a little more now?
80,000. I
Yeah.
actually looked it up last week.
Right on. Yeah.
80,000.
I like being in a place where you can ride your bike. If you're fortunate enough to live close to town, that you can ride your bike there, that there's just stuff going on. I love being near Seattle and usually Vancouver, where we can go see shows or get really amazing food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Bellingham's pretty prime, I think.
Do you miss California or ever go back there?
I miss my friends. I lived in LA, the Valley, San Fernando Valley, went up through school, and then I moved to San Luis Obispo. I spent like 12 years there. That's very similar, I think, to Bellingham, or at least it was back then. And then I moved to San Francisco for about 5 years. And I really miss my friends there. I have some amazing friends.
Has Bellingham been your favorite place you've been?
Definitely, where I've ever lived, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You said earlier that, like, you mentioned, like, sourdough. Did you have, like, a sourdough starter? Do you make bread? Like,
I do.
Were you a baker? Like, how did you...
Just kind of, just get into it. Like, if you figure out you can ferment something, all of a sudden this world of possibilities opens up to you. And it's like, wow, I can make my own bread at home. I can make milk kefir. It's kind of like yogurt. Or, sauerkraut. I mean, Braden at Pangea makes amazing sauerkraut, but it's just like when you have a head of cabbage and you have salt and you combine these two things and then you get more than what you started with. Fermentation for me is just magical.
And
I
it's
love
really
it.
good for your gut health too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those healthy gut bacteria.
Yeah, I love fermenting.
When did you first get into like the health kick? Like do you remember a specific time?
That's a great question. Both my parents had gardens when I was a kid. We always did that. And then I think I'm just sort of San Luis Obispo. I remember I moved there right after high school, and we had a co-op, and I was introduced to the world of like healthy living. I don't know. I think I just had friends too who were more aware, introduced me to things. I remember one of my first jobs when I was in San Luis Obispo, my buddy Fred opened up the hemp shack, and they had all kinds of hemp products, including food, and so learned more about that and like the benefits of omega fatty acids and all these things.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you take a bunch of supplements yourself, or?
I take a few.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. Minerals. That's a big one.
I've used to take those. I don't haven't recently.
I noticed that's made a big difference in my mood. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, I was feeling real edgy. And apparently if you don't have enough magnesium, I think that's the one. You can get I just get cranky, and I've noticed that one really helps with my equilibrium.
Oh, interesting.
Recently I started taking curcumin.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good too.
It's a good one.
There's a lot of good supplements out there, and if like my house, I have a ton.
Yeah.
And it's like you get a little carried away because you always hear about a new one. It's
yeah.
like, how many of these am I
dig
have?
that. Exactly.
$500 a month.
I know. Jay's like, you can't. I just keep it as many as I can fit in my little, 7-day pill box. Yeah.
My go-tos are vitamin D every day.
Vitamin D for sure.
Vitamin C, fish oil. I take NAC.
Zinc.
Don't take zinc. Probably should.
Probably in your daily
take
supplement.
CoQ10. I think those are my main staples. Those are my go-tos. I have other ones I'll sometimes throw in there or just play with for a while. But yeah.
I found GABA is a really good one.
Oh yeah, I used to take that one too.
A lot of that's one's a good one for my anxiety
yeah,
as well.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, that is a good one. So what do you to like cope with anxiety? Is that do you have any techniques you use or use
yoga?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm big into yoga.
You do it by yourself at home, or you
Yep.
go to class?
Yeah, just at home. There's a great app. They're actually in Seattle it's called Down Dog. It's totally free, and it kind of randomizes your set. It's amazing. You can do focuses on different things, different aspects, and like neck stretches, or you want to work on your core strength. I love that app.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
you run it, however long you want. I think it's like 15 minutes to 2 hours, and it's always, and they're just great. And I've been to enough yoga classes at this point. I mean, it'd be nice to be there in person because there's nothing like getting an adjustment from a teacher. But
Yeah.
at this point, I feel like I should be able to get on the mat and just get it done.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
I've done.
I love yoga.
Yeah, I like. Have you done hot yoga?
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. Me
Oh
too.
God, it's so challenging.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Feels so good.
Yeah. So with the ginger beer, now you told me these labels were compostable, or what were you saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, zero plastic. It is corn, but I have been told by the folks who make it at Pure Labels that it is non-GMO corn. So that's something, and I just like having it not be petroleum plastic.
Yeah.
Everything on the label, even these little stickers, are compostable. The only plastic bit is the little gasket inside the cap. Yeah, this bit. And I think that they could make this out of rubber, which is compostable, but I haven't been able to source. These caps were so hard to find in the first place, and I really wanted to find something that people could not have to have a bottle opener.
Yeah.
So that's my one little concession. But that was really important to me to not add a whole bunch of crap.
Yeah. Does it make
to
you feel
landfill.
good having your own company and looking at this and knowing
Yeah,
it's yours?
it feels really
That's
good.
a cool feeling,
yeah,
isn't it?
except that label's all messed up, but it's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Generally, it's a good feeling.
Do you have plans for other drinks?
That's a good question. When I started the business, I got some advice afterwards saying that you shouldn't name your business just after your one product.
That's probably smart. Yeah.
Ginger beer.
Idea.
Yeah, so you can expand things. But with the ginger beer, I like to focus on one thing. I think that's, especially since this one thing takes so much effort. And then I have a couple of derivative products. There's like a tea that I make with the leftover ginger, the probiotic ginger, and these little candies. And then I make this hot drink when it's cold out at the farmer's market called the Knot Toddy. It's kind of like a spice cider.
Oh, cool.
And I think I'm just going to focus on these for right now. I think it's good just to simplify, especially during these times.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Oh, that's cool. And there, are you familiar with the website called Fair? Have you heard of that?
I don't think so.
So
FAIR?
FAIRE. So it's a website for businesses or manufacturers to put their products up there for other businesses to buy and sell in their store.
Oh, interesting.
I know Sea Witch Botanicals in town.
Yeah.
They're on there. We carry some of their incense and stuff in our store. But
Justin was at my block party yesterday.
Oh,
He's
was
my
he really?
neighbor.
He designed my website for
Nice.
Hobbies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm friends with Kat. But yeah, that's
Me too.
that's something to maybe look into
Yeah, I
down
will.
the line. You could, and then other businesses around the country can buy it, and you just ship
Yeah.
it to them, and maybe that could be a thing too.
It's a hard business for this stuff too. I can't get too big right now because it's got to be refrigerated. I can't ship it
Yeah.
without refrigeration.
Oh yeah, that would
Yeah.
be challenging.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
It's
I'm kind of keeping it small batch and Bellingham focused for right now.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm from Port Angeles originally. I've kind of lived in a lot of different places. I lived in Eugene, Oregon, and Vancouver, Washington, Las Vegas twice. Lived in Illinois.
It's a pretty diverse set of places.
Yeah, I was very restless. I didn't come from the most happy, stable home, so I left home when I was like 16.
Yeah.
And from the age of like 16 to the age of probably late 30s, the longest I ever lived anywhere was maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
I just moved
That sounds like me.
a lot.
Yeah.
Not for any particular, like, I was just always trying to chase money or trying to find, I always hated working a job. I could never do it. It always felt soul crushing. And I was like, I tried to find a way to make a living doing anything but working a job.
Yeah.
And so I worked for I did multi-level marketing companies. I played poker for a living for 3 years.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
I worked odd jobs all the time here and there. But I was almost 30. Nothing had materialized in success financially.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, I'm getting old. and I don't have nothing. I have no job, no career. I don't have
Your
a
daughter is
house.
getting older.
I have no money. She's like 9 at the time or
Right.
whatever. So I was like, I'll go back to school because I had done 2 years in my early 20s.
Mm.
And so I needed 2 more years. So I came up here to Western and got 2 more years. Got my bachelor's in
Got it
psychology.
done.
I didn't do anything with it. I decided I didn't want to go to grad school. I was burnt out on school. I never liked school either. I always really hated school.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what am I going to do? And then, yeah, but yeah, kind of moved around. And, I've had a very interesting life, done a lot of interesting things. And I love it because all those experiences, it's like, you hear the stories of people who just born and die in the same town and they never leave and they never travel anywhere outside
Yeah.
the country. I was like, that's insane to
Yeah.
me. Like, how can you like not have any desire to get away?
Live 100 miles from the ocean and never seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you travel a lot now? Do you like to travel?
Not as much as I would like to. We haven't, but yeah, Jay and I would love to travel. We haven't been traveling much lately, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're actually going to California this week to see my dad because we're celebrating his retirement party. Happened last year.
Oh, cool. Okay.
His retirement happened last year. His party hopefully is happening this weekend.
Okay.
So
That might be fun.
yeah,
Is he in San Luis Obispo?
yeah, he's in Los Osos.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, high school
Is
English
your mom still
teacher.
in South Dakota?
She's in LA in the Valley. Yeah.
Oh, they're both there now.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's neat. Where have you been outside of the country that you really like?
Gosh, I love Mexico.
Uh-huh.
Always want to go back to Mexico. Yeah. And I haven't been that many states in Mexico, but definitely love spending time there and the people there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'd love to visit. I've been to Europe, but I've never had a chance to go to other continents like Africa or Asia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Did go to Spain for school for about a year.
Oh, what was that like?
That was amazing.
You loved
Yeah,
it?
it was. I wouldn't say I loved it. It was very challenging.
In what way?
Let's see. At the time, I was vegetarian, and this is early 2000s. There weren't too many vegetarian options. Spanish cuisine.
Yeah.
That was challenging. Also, I had a long distance relationship at the time, and that was a hard thing. I think what might have been a healthier thing to do at the time would have just kind of been like, if it works out when I get back, then that's meant to be, because when you're in your early 20s, that's kind of how you meet people.
Stuff. Yeah.
Is dating. Yeah. And yeah, it was a challenging time, but I definitely learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Some good friends and saw some amazing concerts.
Oh, that's cool.
Really good music.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How long were you vegetarian for?
Since I was 14 up until a few years ago. So I think it was 27 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? I can't do the math. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And what made you decide to stop being vegetarian?
I was dealing with some health issues, and it was recommended that I start eating meat.
Uh-huh.
And so I've started kind of eating a little bit in small quantities, like high quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was vegan for 6 months and vegetarian for 2.5 years. And I was going to the gym at the time. And I wasn't, for like weeks on end, I just was not getting any stronger. I was like, and I wasn't really lifting.
Yeah.
I was so heavy that it was impossible to lift more weight than this. And I'm like, what is going on? And I started to literally dream about eating meat in my sleep.
Yeah.
And I was doing all the things that you're supposed to do to get like complete amino acid. I had the plant-based protein powder with the complete amino acid profile that you get when you eat normal meat. For those who are listening, protein isn't the same. Like protein is made up of amino acids,
Right.
and you have to have, those are like the building blocks to build.
You have to have a complete one.
You have to have a complete one to
Yeah.
help maintain and repair muscles on your body.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're going to slowly deteriorate. So if you become vegan or vegetarian, supposedly, you're supposed to take you can get plant-based protein powders that have a complete amino acid profile, and you got to combine all these different foods. It's a lot of work, but I was doing all those things. It just didn't work. My body didn't respond to it, and after 3 years of no meat, I got back on it. I literally had one chicken breast, and I was like instantly stronger in the gym. My body was like, "Thank you, finally."
It's not meant for everybody.
I was listening to a podcast. A doctor was on there talking about it can be a genetic thing too. Some people genetically can be okay without meat, and other people genetically can't. They just, their bodies
That's what
can't
I've
handle
heard.
it.
A lot of different factors.
Were you not eating meat for like health reasons, or was it for like environmental? Or
when I was 14, I read The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, and my family, we were going we used to go water skiing in the Central Valley a lot, and we would go past some of the cattle ranches,
Okay.
and the combination just kind of did it for me for a long time.
Yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
documentaries like Forks Over Knives.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the other ones years ago, and I was like,
Yeah.
when I buy meat now, it's always like humanely raised,
Yeah.
you know,
Try to do local,
pasture.
Yep.
Yeah,
Organic.
yeah.
Yep.
Can I ask you
If
about that?
possible.
Can I ask you about the prepper thing?
Yeah.
When did that start?
Gosh, this started a long time ago. Yeah, I really love that kind of thing, and
Uh-huh.
yeah, I think I can't even remember when it started. Probably in my mid 20s or something like that. I started collecting
Just on your own, or did you
stuff.
have a friend or a family
Just on
member?
my own.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't really know anyone else that's into it.
yeah. So you just started collecting food, water, medical supplies, the whole thing.
Information.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then I started the last few years I started organizing my community. Bellingham has a program. It's in a lot of communities in Washington called Map Your Neighborhood,
Okay.
where you help to connect your community. So in the event of an emergency, you can sort of rely on each other and check on each other, take
Mm-hmm.
care of each other, watch out for each other.
Yeah, I think it's smart. I
Yeah.
think it's smart. I think everyone should
Yeah.
have like food, water saved up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some tools.
yeah,
Yeah, your personal, like, you wear contacts. You want to
hmm
have those around if for
yeah,
some reason you can't get a hold of them.
yeah. I
Yeah.
got my little stove, my little propane
Yeah.
tanks.
All your important
I
papers in
got,
one
I got one of
place.
those straws for drinking water out of a
Oh, yeah, that's
stream.
smart.
I got all those.
Yeah.
I got all those little things, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Those things are fun. It's always like interesting to think about those things. My dad was the same way. He used. I remember growing up, he bought a bunch of MREs by the case.
Wow.
Had tons of them just
What are
stacked up.
MREs?
Meals ready to eat. It's what they
Oh,
give the
okay. Oh,
military.
yeah, okay, right.
And I remember him telling me, because I grew up in Port Angeles, a small town, 20,000 people. There's like only like one road that goes in, one road that goes out. Like there's not a
Right.
lot of ways. And he's like, I remember him telling me, he was like, him and like a bunch of other people had this property or this place they were gonna go to if anything happened, and they were gonna like blow up the road that comes into
Wow.
like they had this whole thing like
Nice.
if there was ever like a civil war or the
Right.
government collapsed, there's
Yeah.
like we have this place we're gonna go to, we're gonna the road where it's gonna blow it up
Yep.
so no one can come in. And I
Yep.
was like, dang, it's that's. I said to him one time, I'm
It's
like,
next level.
I was like, well, what if you die? How am I gonna know where it's at? He goes, well, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
Because
You don't get there in
and then it
time.
would only let people in that had some skills like
Yeah.
that could benefit
Right.
the thing, you know what I mean? And yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
speaking of dads, I should clarify that my biological dad still lives in South Dakota. We
Mhm.
don't really have much of a relationship. My dad that I'm going to see this weekend in Los Osos, he's
Mhm.
my ex stepdad, but he's more my dad
Oh,
to
okay.
me than
Is your brother in
anyone
California?
else
Where's
has
your
been.
brother?
Let's see, I have two brothers, one of whom who grew up with me, South Dakota, back and forth. He works on the show The Bachelor, and I
Okay.
believe right now he's in Minneapolis.
Is he like a
Um,
producer on the show or something?
he has different roles. I believe right now he's in charge of COVID protocol,
Oh, okay.
if I remember correctly. And then my other brother does live in the San Fernando Valley
Mhm.
as well. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
And do you guys talk a lot? Are you guys similar?
Yeah, well, we're
Uh-huh.
not similar. We're so different. But
Uh-huh.
my brother, that's my stepbrother, my stepdad's son. And yeah, we're hosting the party for my dad this weekend.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that brother is pretty famous. He's Joel Freeman. He's a Beachbody coach. He has a
Mhm.
program.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. So
Uh-huh.
he's I think, where is he right now? I think they just got back from the Maldives. They're celebrating
Oh, wow.
my sister-in-law's birthday.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we couldn't be more different, but we love each other so much. It's great. But yeah, we're just completely different lifestyles, completely different people.
Uh-huh. Well,
It's
that's cool.
funny. Yeah, it's funny how you grow up and completely. Yeah, well, we had
Yeah.
different upbringings as well because we have different moms. So
Yeah, I'm completely opposite of everyone in my family.
yeah,
I would
are you the black sheep then?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I am, first of all, I'm introverted, but also very stubborn and headstrong. I have, the, I've been stealing this a lot lately. David Sinclair, he's this Harvard professor, and he wrote a book on aging. He studies aging or whatever. He's been on Rogan and a bunch of people's podcasts
Mm-hmm.
before, but he talks about the fuck you gene, and he says that he has that, and I
Yeah.
feel like I have that too.
Yeah.
I have this thing inside of me where
Yeah.
it's just like, if you I'll do it if I want to do it, whether you think I should or shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
I think I have the
I'm very
opposite one.
independent.
I have the people pleaser gene.
I have that one too, though.
Oh, so you can have both at the same
I have that
time.
one too.
How does that work?
Well, people pleaser with my friends and
Yeah.
the people in my circle,
Yeah.
and the people that are in my life.
Yeah.
At the same time, I will just do what I want to do, and if people disagree with it,
Yeah.
not in a mean way, but I don't know. I'm just always been that.
You're not
Like,
gonna waste your time.
the fuck you gene is like more of like authority figures telling me what to do, or
Yeah.
people thinking they can exert power.
Not suffering fools. That
Yeah,
term.
yeah, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I have a high risk tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think, yeah, black sheep in that way. My dad especially, very traditional. Go to college, get a
Mm-hmm.
job,
Buy a house.
the white picket
Yeah.
fence thing. And I was always like, I hate school. I don't want to I can't work a job. But he
Yeah.
was very much blue collar, from New York, that generation.
Right.
And that's just what that generation did, because back then you could graduate high school and get a nice high paying job, and
Right.
you could support a whole family on one job. You could rate the wife could
Stay
stay
at
home,
home.
and the kids would go to school, and she'd take
Yeah.
care of all the house, and the man would make all the money, and you get a car
Pay
and a
your
house.
mortgage off in 30
Yeah.
years and vacation in
But there's
Hawaii.
like no jobs you
Yeah.
can really get nowadays that
No.
are gonna do that, because the rate of inflation's gone up faster than wages, and you can't keep up. It's just
Yeah.
it's too hard. So yeah. So you have the people pleaser gene, huh?
Very much so.
But
Yeah, I really have to temper that. But I think I also have the FU gene. Like I worked in restaurants all through college, and I was never a great server. Like I just don't really, if someone's rude to me or if I just think they're insufferable, I just don't really have the time or the patience for them. And
Yeah.
that didn't carry me through very well in terms of working in
yeah.
restaurants.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's the same thing too. I get chafed by authority.
Yeah, especially yeah. Well, because if I'm thinking about doing something and someone tells me, "Oh, that's a bad idea," or "That's never gonna work,"
Yeah.
my mind instantly goes to, I'm sure, like, you've probably done no research. You probably don't even know that what you're talking about,
Right.
and you know what I mean, that type of thing. I always think, you haven't done the research, you haven't really thought deeply about it. You probably don't even know what you're saying, and just because you can't do it doesn't mean I can't do it,
Right.
because I'm probably smarter than you. Like, that's where
Right.
my mind goes.
Yeah.
That very, like, antagonistic
Yeah.
approach probably comes from my dad, because growing up I had my dad, who wasn't very nice. So I have a pushback against that stuff now.
Right.
Not
Anyone telling you it's not going to work, you want to prove to them that it will.
Yeah, because I know how hard I can work.
Yeah.
And I know I can handle an enormous amount of stress.
Yeah.
And keep going.
Right. And especially like see yourself in situations other people can't picture. You're saying you have a high risk tolerance.
I also think, you're a business owner and you're an entrepreneur. That type of personality, I think, is probably usually the black sheep, independent types.
Yeah.
Because I think you have to be.
Right.
Because there's a lot of sacrifices you have to make. You have to work long hours. Like, you're talking about your business being profitable. So here's how I started. I graduated from Western, and I was working at the co-op here for a short time in the deli, completely broke, had no money, behind on student loans, driving a car that was on the verge of breaking down that I couldn't afford to repair.
Yeah.
This was at the age of like 32.
Mm-hmm.
I moved back home to my parents' house, the last place on earth I want to be. It's a small, double wide, like mobile home, not nice, completely broken down.
Yeah.
I'm in my old
That's
bedroom,
rough, right?
where I'm sleeping on a futon, and this room is so small that when you open the futon out, there's like no place to stand in the room. It's a tiny little room.
Yeah.
I lived there for 2.5 years, from the age of 32 to 35, and I waited tables in a Thai restaurant, and I found out that people were going to garage sales and thrift stores, and they were buying things and reselling them on like Amazon and eBay. It's like, I want to try that. So I took $300, I opened up a business bank account, and I started going around. I had little apps. I had an app I would scan to see what it's selling for on Amazon, see if it's profitable.
Yeah.
And I was watching videos on YouTube of what to look for. And I just...
Treasure hunting.
Yeah. And I was selling on eBay, a lot of clothes. And that $300 I started with turned into $8,000 to $9,000 in about 8 months.
Wow.
And I was just using the money from my job to pay my bills.
Yeah.
And I lived there for 2.5 years. In 2.5 years, I paid myself $1,000. The second year, I made $40,000, and the third, like 72.
Nice.
But it was just for that. And all I did was work and then try to build up my business.
Yeah.
I was in no relation. I dated a girl for like a month and a half and broke up with her.
Yeah.
I had one friend I hung out with like once a month.
Yeah,
but
something
just
has to give at that
but
point.
just that sacrifice of like
Right.
grinding it for years. And I've met people along the way who have tried to sell on Amazon and they just quit so easily and so quickly because it's hard. It's so much work.
Yeah. Right,
And
you have to
so
put the footwork into it.
yeah, and so yeah, being a business owner, it's not easy.
Yeah, and
Eh,
there's no clear path. It's
Yeah,
not like anyone's telling you this is what you do and this is going to happen.
and
Like
there's
it's
always
not
the uncertainty of the future. Like
right.
the business I'm in, selling retail, has changed so much over the years. It's completely
Right.
different than when I started, and it's harder now than it's ever been, and it's challenging.
Yeah.
And I've had to diversify sources of income. That's one of the reasons I opened up the store, but also investing into stocks and crypto now to spread out how I'm generating income,
Yeah, it's smart.
taking profits from my company to invest in other things to try to set up other sources. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to
That's really
diversify
smart.
that, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot, man. Yeah,
Yeah. It is. Diversification is so important in so many different ways.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap this up. I just want to ask you though, like we've talked about a little bit. What are some of your hobbies? I'm curious. Like you said, yoga is one.
Prepping.
Prepping is
Mhm.
another. Do you have any
Mhm.
books or TV shows you're into?
Yeah, I just checked out a couple books. It was funny because my mom and my auntie and I are in a little book club, and they want to read a book called The Beautiful Ones. I forget who the author is, but then I saw that there's a Prince autobiography
Uh-huh.
called The Beautiful Ones, so I
Okay.
checked that one out too.
Okay.
Super into music. Like I mentioned, I used to be a radio DJ,
Yeah,
so
yeah. That's really cool.
I got a pretty big record collection.
Oh, that's good. Do you play?
I don't play
Uh-huh.
music. Yeah, Jay does though. He's really good.
What does he play?
He plays guitar,
Hmm.
and apparently he also plays the trumpet. I've never heard that. He plays the mandolin a little bit. Haven't heard him play that in a long time. His whole family, they're all musical.
Musical.
Yeah, they can just pick anything up and
Yeah.
start playing it.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I'd say
Mhm.
those are, and then gardening.
Do you have any shows you watch?
Yeah, what do we watch? Yeah, I got really into. I'm excited. Stranger Things is finally coming out
Oh,
next
season
year.
4. That's a great
Hopefully.
show. I love that. Reminded me of my
Yeah.
childhood a little bit. It felt good.
Yeah, and for some reason, I made it all the way through up to this point in my life without watching Fast Times at Ridgemont High,
I've never seen it.
which is it's really funny because it's
Uh-huh.
exactly where I grew up in LA.
Okay.
Yeah, it was I mean, it's super passe right now. It's definitely doesn't pass the Bechdel test, and there's some things in there that are highly questionable, but it was super entertaining.
Yeah.
It was a good one.
What genres do you typically gravitate towards? Sounds like
Mostly fantasy,
Uh-huh.
sci-fi kind of stuff.
those are my top 2 also.
Yeah, I also love nature documentaries. Really,
Uh-huh. Okay.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
those are fun to watch.
Were you did you watch Game of Thrones?
I did, and yeah, that was upsetting at the end. So upsetting.
It's
I
like
read all the books, and where the heck is that final book? When are we ever gonna get that book? We're never
It's
gonna see
like
it now.
the greatest show
So
ever made,
aggravating. Yeah,
and they dropped it
they
at the
dropped
end.
it.
They just screwed. I know.
What did they do with it? I
I'm
think they
praying-
got distracted because they got some other show, didn't they?
They
weren't
got Star Wars or something.
That's what it
But then they
was.
got fired from that.
Yeah.
Probably because everyone hated them so much. I hated them. I'm like,
Oh,
I wish they
so
would never work
aggravating.
ever again, and they lose all their money.
I know.
I'm just like, I hate what they did with it.
Horrible.
Yeah, and I hope the prequels coming out will be really good. That's my hope.
Man. We'll see. Favorite movie of all time though is Amelie.
Okay, I've had this movie on my list of movies
You've
to
never
watch
seen it?
for over a decade. For over a
This is your
decade.
road sign. You need to watch that movie.
I have. It's so funny on my phone when I'm scrolling through Instagram.
Yeah.
I follow different like movie channels or pages, and when they have like clips of movies, if I think, oh, that's cool, I want to see that, I'll favorite
Yeah.
it. So then when I want something to watch, I go into my saved and I try
Yeah.
to find something. But Amelie, I've heard it's so.
It's a great
supposed to be
soundtrack
really
too.
good.
Yeah, I put that soundtrack on when I'm super
Why is that?
overwhelmed.
I don't know what it's about, so maybe I want to ask you until
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah, you'll like
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it's
Are
a
you
good
excited
one.
about the Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, my friend Travis was telling me about that recently. I didn't know.
Amazon bought the rights.
And they spent
They're
so much money.
spending like $1 billion on the first season.
I can't wait.
It's insane.
It's gonna be fun eye
Oh, I
candy.
love it.
Yeah.
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 Did you watch The Witcher on Netflix?
I did.
My
Yes.
that's my favorite show right now.
I actually like that quite a bit.
I can't wait for season 2
Mhm.
in December.
Mhm.
That's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And my mom was supposed to go to they were having like a labyrinth ball in LA, and apparently
Really?
yeah, something like this, but yeah, I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot
It
of
got
fun.
canceled, I guess, for COVID. So sad.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Hmm. Cool. So if people want to find this yummy, delicious wild ginger beer, you are
Yeah.
at the farmer's market every Saturday. It's 10
And
to 2.
Wednesday, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Saturday's 10 to 2 at the Depot Market
Okay.
Square. And then it's Wednesdays 4 to 7 through September um, at the waterfront by the
And
pump
you
track.
guys got to try this. It is amazing. We'll put your Instagram up here
Thank
too so
you.
people can check you out and follow
All
you.
my goofy pictures.
Your great pictures. Very nice
Yeah.
and creative and very great lighting.
Thank you
So,
for featuring us in your coffee shop and
yeah.
having us on your podcast. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been fun. We'll have to
Yeah.
do it again.
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Sal.